like to start by asking you a few simple questions. By a show of hands, how many of you enjoy the complicated process of doing your income taxes every year? None? Okay. Next question. How many of you like the fact that we've been at war as a country in some fashion for the last 25 years? And that we've spent almost $4.5 trillion and lost more than 6,000 servicemen and women doing so? Lastly, how many of you want your government to restrict your personal freedoms rather than protect them? No one? So, it seems by your lack of support for these questions that you value freedom as citizens and would like a government that actually protects those freedoms. Freedom for all life, freedom to promote true liberty, and freedom to pursue your happiness. You are not alone. Last month, 40% of Americans self-identified as independents, while only 26% each identified as Republican or Democrat. While it may seem like our only choice for president are Republican or Democrat, who consequently control everything from the voting machines that you use to who is allowed to participate in the presidential debates, there's actually a third contender gaining popularity. This is the Libertarian Party, whose values sound a lot like what our founding fathers struggled for. And I believe that this party is what most accurately represents what the majority of Americans really want in leadership. To be libertarian is to stand up for liberty for all, to keep government restrained to the role of defending individual liberty from force and fraud. As William Allen White said, liberty is the only thing you cannot have unless you are willing to give it to others. Let's take a look at what it means to be a libertarian in 2016. So, economically speaking, libertarians are fiscally conservative. They value low taxes and very few wasteful government programs. They encourage a free market and enable open competition to produce the best product, system, or service to be victorious. Unfortunately, this isn't always the case in today's marketplace. Companies like Comcast are legally able to draw lines in the sand to areas that they mark to provide access to in their area, in the areas that their competitor, like Time Warner, can provide access to. This is the opposite of what a free market really is. Many libertarians intend to do away with the IRS and to replace it with a sales tax on everything. So this is also known as the fair tax plan. Instead of penalizing people for earning, which would be our income tax, this system rewards those who choose to save and encourages people to actually spend less than what they earn. So American federal debt is at an all-time high and it's climbing fast. By 2017, next year, the US debt will hover around 20 trillion. That's with a T. We can't afford to maintain the status quo and we need to eliminate extra costs. Career politicians, particularly those that are prone to cronyism and corruption, need to have their terms minimized. The United States is a large country with wonderfully diverse regional values and ideas. The Libertarian Party recognizes that these regional associations are important and that the states should have a large amount of autonomy to create their own laws. For example, Tennesseans generally have a different set of values than Californians do, and their laws should reflect those values. By giving the states their power back, we as citizens will be able to hold them accountable to that responsibility. So, in general, a libertarian foreign policy would greatly minimize the level of involvement in foreign affairs. No more nation-building campaigns that benefit only those holding the oil or the arms contracts. We get our military out of these false wars, and we regain our defense budget to prioritize our safety here at home. And while we're talking about security, do you feel secure knowing that our government spent $60 billion, that's billion, last year alone on non-military intelligence programs and has almost zero accountability for it? Like Congress doesn't even know where this money went. The government has never been more invasive into the private lives of their conversations and the interactions of our citizens. Not only is this unconstitutional, but it's extremely expensive, wasteful, and ineffective. Libertarians place a high level of importance on the Constitution and believe in preserving it. This means obtaining a warrant prior to conducting searches and valuing the Second Amendment and protecting the property rights and contracts of individuals according to the Constitution. As long as the U.S. has been in existence, two political parties have dominated the landscape. The names of these parties and what they value has evolved over the years. But on the 3 points that I mentioned earlier, war, taxes, and civil liberties, The Republican and Democratic establishment is largely in agreement. I believe this is why so many voters find Trump and Clinton distasteful, primarily because they don't feel represented, and secondarily because Republicans and Democrats are actually very similar in how they govern. If you want a president that leans heavily authoritarian, then Donald or Hillary would meet that criteria. If, however, you want a leader that actually respects their fellow citizens as intelligent and hardworking people, then consider a libertarian. If you want a leader that encourages everyone to have a real voice in the political process, despite their income, ethnicity, or influence, then consider a libertarian. And if you want a leader that truly works towards the good of our country, then consider researching the libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson. Thank you.